Interactive is a horse coming into the Derby that ranks out at 23 on my system. Interactive is a horse that a lot of people liked. They liked his breeding and they liked him for the Kentucky Derby. I'm I'm not a big fan and never have been. So I consider this horse a pretender. We'll see what happens if they put him in the race and he's really tearing up the track. Um, I don't know, but that's at this point of the game, not big on my list. I think that he is going to need to be near the lead in his best races, and he ran a really good race with Sydney's Candy. That race is real confusing to me. I think that race can turn out to be an indicator that those two horses are going to run big, or that both of those horses are going to get beat. That's a difficult race. I think that's a key race in terms of handicapping. And I actually wish Cara Cortado was going to get in the Derby. He ran third of those two horses in that race. So for me, the horse is a pretender. His speed numbers are too low, and I don't like his running style. And when he's raced against the top horses in his class, as a 3-year-old, he hadn't gotten it done. But yeah, I think he's better on turf. So so I'm actually hoping they put him in the race so I can bet against him. Next horse, Jackson Bend. Jackson Bend is a tough and gritty horse. I think that he's one of these horses that can surprise you and hit the board just on pure heart. He's a real small horse, and kind of reminds me of Little E.T. or horses like that just somehow are just tough, gritty fighters. But against Escondrea, he's had the chance to be neck and neck with them as they turn for home both ways with no obstructions, no problems, and he's basically 10 lengths short. So come the Kentucky Derby, 10 lengths short, does that equate to him hitting the board? Not sure, but I do respect that horse and the connections with Nick Zito. But for me, I'm going to probably bet against him, although I wouldn't consider him a horse that doesn't run third or fourth. Definitely the potential to do that. It brings us to Lina David, who went wire to wire in the Arkansas Derby. This is a horse that I actually hit that exacta, and I liked Super Saver in the race and backed myself up with a few of the long shots I liked on top, and was surprised when he dug in and they couldn't answer him. I think if they went another 16th of a mile, he still wins the race. Lionheart, his daddy, ran second in the Kentucky Derby. So this is a horse that they put him on dirt, and he ran a big race, ran a strong number, ran wire to wire, and beat good horses. Who knows? He's really a question mark on my system. He times out at a 30 in my system, which is very high. That puts him in the top 5 for horses in my system. So, I mean, I think that he kept Dublin and Super Saver at bay, and Noble Promise, while they're saying he had some issues in the race, finished 5th. I mean, he beat a strong field in $1 million race, wire to wire. So he's another horse that's going to legitimize the pace, and is going to be a horse that makes problems for Sydney's Candy and some of the other front runners. One of the front runners, one out of the 4, will probably stay up to finish 1, 2, 3, or 4. And figuring that out, is it Rule? Is it Sydney's Candy? Is it Super Saver? Is it Lina David? Those are the types of questions that may help you cash huge superfecta tickets. So Lina David's got an outsider's chance to hit the board. I'm definitely not saying I think he can win the Kentucky Derby, but I think he can stay up for 3rd or 4th, surprise people a little bit with that. But the early pace obviously compromises his chances. That brings me to looking at Lucky, who just seems like he runs the right style of race to fire a big race here. If you pay attention to the Rebel, he ran into all kinds of trouble, similar to the types of trouble that horses find in the Kentucky Derby. And when he actually was straightened out and he had a chance to go after the horse in the front, Noble's Promise, man, he had a target and he chewed it up, and he really attacked it, and he went after him and he nailed him. And so I think that this horse has to be respected. You've got Bob Baffert, you've got Smart Strike Offspring, and you've got Michael Pegram. So same connections as Real Quiet and Silver Bullet Day. But and he's been a favorite in every single race in his career, and you're going to catch this horse at between 8-1 or something like 10-1, somewhere in there. So it's going to be very important to see how Looking at Lucky works at Churchill Downs, and I'm interested to see how he looks at the race, because 8 or 9-1 with Gomez, Baffert, and this horse, very scary. I think the race sets up for him. I think there's going to be a legitimate pace, and I think Escondare is going to take off at the 8th pole and put this front runners away with his power. And Looking at Lucky's got a very, very, very strong late turn of foot. So if someone that can look at the excuses they've had in the last few races and say he has the ability to fire more, I think it's got to make him a contender. But throwing him out of the race and figuring he ran a good race in the Santa Anita Derby, finishing 3rd, and it wasn't good enough, that's going to take some balls. I don't know. For me, I think he runs the right style. Sydney's Candy may be a better horse and may beat that horse in smaller fields in California, but I think on the dirt at Churchill Downs, I think Looking at Lucky moves up. And I think that his running style is going to put him in a position where there's going to be a target for him to shoot at. And if he likes the surface, 8-1 is a strong play on him. So I kind of like him to be 1, 2, or 3 in some of the scenarios I'm looking at. Looking at Lucky only times out at a 23 on my system. Part of that's because he's continued to get himself into some different types of trouble. But I do like this horse. I like him in this spot, more importantly. And for a horse that's been the favorite in every race of his career, hey, Looking at Lucky has his Brisnet has his sire number power at 113, which kind of puts him in the middle of the pack in terms of breeding. But that's where he's out on that. But I like his running style. He's raced against all the tough guys, and has been competitive in each race. And his late turn of foot should bode well for him in this spot. So looking pretty good for Looking at Lucky in this race. And that's it for that. Next horse to take a peek at here is Mission Impossible. This is a horse that I'm liking more and more. I like his running style. And I like his race in the Louisiana Derby. I generally steer clear of those horses and haven't been a big fan. They haven't done much in the Kentucky Derby, but I just kind of like the way he. It's a long drive at the fairgrounds, and he kind of just marked his spot and drove home and drove clear. And that's a type of final 1/8 of a mile run you're going to need in the Kentucky Derby. After all the dust settles, it's going to come down to who's running fastest at the end. Those tiring horses will be looking like they're going backwards. So Mission Impossible is a horse with Pletcher that is sneaky good to me. I'm going to have him on the ticket, and I have him as a contender running, making a bid as they straighten out for home and picking off horses that are tiring as they come along. Last horse we're going to look at in this segment is Noble's Promise. Here's a horse that they say is 50-50. I think he's going to race. His owners are Chasing Dreams Stables, and they picked this horse up for 10 grand. I'm not a huge fan of his sire, but and he kind of comes in on the bottom of the sire strength for this distance. But this horse is a tough guy. I mean, he's always in contention. He's run big races. He had a few excuses in the Arkansas Derby. Since I like Looking at Lucky, he's been nose and nose with him a few times, so it'd be kind of hypocritical to not think this horse has an outsider's chance. And based on his last performance, you're going to get him at a very, very, very good price, maybe up to 15, 20 to 1 or more. And so if you respect Looking at Lucky, you got to handicap this horse in and maybe overlook what amounts to be the worst race in his career. Thank you.